from the beginning, there were so many times where I was like, oh, it's just not working. Like my milk isn't coming through. I'm not producing enough milk. This might be TMI, but you could flick these suckers and I don't feel a thing. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Giving you a big hug. Whether you're an OG subscriber, I love you, I appreciate you, get a hug. Or if you're a new subscriber, I'm one of those weird people where when I meet you for the first time, I give hugs, so hugs. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of just start this off right away because I know how rambly I can get, and basically I just wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about breastfeeding. So if you're new, my name's Julia and I have a 6-month-old baby girl named Penelope. At the time of filming this, she's 6 months. I feel like this video might not go up for a little while, so if you follow me on Instagram, you're probably like, she's like 7 or 8 months now, but at the time of filming this, she's 6 months. And if you guys want to know more about her, I will link a playlist up here of her monthly updates. Any video or thing I mention, I will link in the description box as well. I'll put videos and items mentioned, so that will be down there. I'll also just link in general my mommy channel playlist right here because I do all kinds of things with her, like hauls. I've done a vlog, like what do stay-at-home moms do all day, even though I do YouTube and I am a live shopping host on Gravy. But anyways, long story short, if you want to know more about Penelope, I'll link some videos and playlists for you guys because Jesse's watching her right now. If you guys want to creep on Jesse or see more of Jesse, I have a Julia and Jesse playlist that I'll link down below for you guys as well. Oh, she heard me talking about her. Anyways, I do only have the one baby. This is my first and only baby I've ever breastfed, so I'm not like a breastfeeding guru. I just kind of wanted to sit down and talk to you guys as if I'm talking to my girlfriends and tell you guys about my breastfeeding experience, what's helped me, and hopefully if anything you can get out of this is just kind of moral support and feeling like, okay, like I'm not the only one who struggled with this, or I'm not the only one who, which that's the first thing. I'll say breastfeeding is way harder than I thought. It's very time consuming, especially in the first couple months. Your baby, well at least my baby, wanted to eat every sometimes 45 minutes. Sometimes she would go 2 hours, but up until she hit about 3 months old, she was wanting to eat regularly. So you're kind of tied to your baby, which for me, I wasn't so upset about. Like I low-key liked using it as an excuse, like, oh, I can't go anywhere because I'm breastfeeding her. Because I don't know, me personally, I just didn't want to go anywhere the first like 3 months. I was like in hermit crab mode. So yeah, I guess I'll start from the beginning and kind of just talk about my journey till now, and then I think in the future, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to do like the weaning process, and I don't know how that's gonna work. I'm gonna have to feed her bottles one day, formula, like how does that work? I feel so intimidated by formula feeding. It's probably just because I haven't done it, and that's how I am. I'm very like, anyways, when I first had Penelope, I got to do skin to skin right away for an hour, which if you're watching this and are pregnant and haven't had your baby yet, talk to your doctor and your nurses. If possible, try to be pretty stern about, hey, as long as there's no complications and they don't need to take the baby, ask to hold your baby and have skin to skin. Now, one thing for you mamas who have had complications with your babies, or if you do have complications with your babies, it's okay. It's still possible for them to latch. But yeah, if it's something you can control, try to get your baby right away because I heard that helps. I don't know, it worked for me. So Penelope did latch about, I don't know, it took about 20-30 minutes. They kind of just put her on there and was trying to like get her to suckle, and eventually she did. She grabbed in. Which brings me to my next thing. Have some lanolin cream on hand. I got the brand Lancino, which it's 100% natural and hypoallergenic. It says safe for mom and baby. This stuff will help you get through the first couple weeks of breastfeeding, because when they say it hurts, it does hurt pretty bad. I feel like for me, the first couple days it didn't hurt so bad, like when I was in the hospital, but once my milk came in and she really started suckling, oh gosh, it would get to the point where like she'd be hungry and I'd be like, oh, and I'm not gonna lie, like I would scream out profanities. I'd be like, like as soon as she would latch, and I would just try to whisper it because I didn't want to scare her, but it did hurt, and this helped a lot. So you don't have to wipe it off. Basically what you do is after your baby's done drinking, you put some of this on your nipple and just leave it, and they're okay to eat. Next time they're hungry, if they get it, it's okay, it's all natural. But this kind of helps just like numb your nipples until they get hard, which it will happen, guys. There was a point, like even I would say after a month and a half, there would still be times where I'm like, oh, my nipples are sore. Like if she was extra hungry that day, I'd be like, ugh. But after about 2 months, this might be TMI, but you could flick these suckers and I don't feel a thing. Side note, it's kind of funny. So my sister, she's 10 years younger than me. So when I was just getting boobs, she would give me twitty twisters and it hurt so bad. And so now that we both have boobs, like we'll joke and say twitty twister, and I'm like, give me a twitty twister now, I won't be able to feel it. So yeah, they will toughen up. Another thing I recommend getting that helped me, at least, if you guys saw my baby must-haves video, I'll link that up here. I also did a what's in my hospital bag video as well, so I'll link that down below as well. But get yourself a boppy. It was really helpful for me. So you can basically put this around you like this, and it just helps hold the baby there. You don't have to hold them. I honestly don't really use it anymore because Penelope hates laying down eating now. She likes to kind of sit up, which I'll get into positions right now. But I will link my boppy down below for you guys. It has dog hair all over it, but I liked it because the cover comes off. So she pooped on this thing a lot, but the cover comes off. You can wash it. I'm going to talk about one more item really quick, and then I'll get into positions, and then I just kind of want to talk about just like the mental stresses of breastfeeding. So another thing I recommend getting is a haka. Mine is disgusting. So I washed it. It's got like a film on it. Maybe it's from, where is it, dust? I don't know. I haven't used this sucker in a really long time. But basically, from what I've read, is from newborn to 3 months, your milk supply is mostly hormonal influenced. So for me, the first 3 months, I could not pump. I could not pump to save my life. Maybe it was the breast pump I got, I'm not sure, but my mom said that she was the same way, that she had enough to breastfeed me till 3 months, but she could not pump. And guys, I would sit there for 20-30 minutes and put it on the highest setting, and I would get nothing the first 3 months. So then I saw a YouTuber talk about this. It's called a haka, and at first I was like, that's weird. Like, I'm not just gonna, I don't know, that's just weird to sit there with this attached to your boob. Like, if I can't get anything from the pump, I'm definitely not gonna get anything from this thing. But like I said, those first 3 months, you'll get stuff from this, or at least I did. So what I would do is, if Penelope was eating on this side, you just attach this to the opposite boob and you squeeze it and it'll suction to your boob, and you don't really have to hold it. I would, just because I was, I don't know, scared it was gonna come off. But I'm not kidding you guys, sometimes I would get 4 ounces of milk from not even trying, because I guess what happens is when your baby is on your nipple and touching your skin, it like boosts your body, like, oh my gosh, let's make milk. And so if you don't have this attached, you will leak on the other boob sometimes. Or even if you don't, your other boob is like, okay, we're in feeding mode. So this just harvests that milk, and that's the only way I could get any excess milk for the first 3 months. So after about 3 months, this kind of stopped working for me. And I don't know if it's because, I don't know, they say about 3 months past that, your milk supply is based off supply and demand. So the more your baby's drinking, the more milk you're gonna make. So I don't know if that's why, but this did stop working for me as well. I mean, I haven't used it in a really long time, but right before I stopped using it, I could get maybe 1.5 ounces, but that's when the pump started working a little better. So my tip on pumping, guys, like I said, the pump and I have not had a good relationship. The only way I get milk is if I pump first thing in the morning and after I'm like really full. Another quick tip that helped me is don't do both at one time. I just get one and I alternate, and the little break in between alternating just gives it time to refill. I don't know, but I just found that if I alternate, like, I don't know, 2 minutes on this side, 2 minutes on this side, I can get way more milk that way. So anyways, if you're having issues pumping, try that out. Oh gosh, I talked too much about pumping. Also guys, if you're watching this and you have any questions that I didn't cover, pop them in the comment section below. If I get enough, maybe I'll do a breastfeeding Q&A and answer all the questions in the comment section of this video. Anyways, I will link the Lancino cream, the Boppy, and this sucker down below. I'm not going to link my pump because, like I said, I didn't have very good success. I think it was Bella Baby, I don't know. I think I'm going to talk about the positions last because I want to kind of just talk about the real part of breastfeeding. So it's very stressful. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to quit. In the beginning, I was constantly worried, like, is she getting enough? It's really hard when you're breastfeeding because you don't know exactly how much they're drinking. Whereas if you are formula feeding them, you know exactly how much you're giving, which I probably should have said this in the beginning, but if for some reason you cannot breastfeed or you weren't able to, don't feel bad. I know that's really in right now is, oh, breastfeeding is the only way, the best way. But I've talked to so many people that they genuinely just could not, that they tried their hardest and they could not. So don't feel bad if you can't, if it doesn't work out for you. However, I will say, guys, if it's something you want to do, like for me, it was something I really wanted to do. I really wanted to be tenacious about it, and I feel like that's how I made it work for me because, like I said, from the beginning, there were so many times where I was like, oh, it's just not working, like my milk isn't coming through, I'm not producing enough milk. I feel like that's one of the most common worries, but one thing that a nurse told me that was the best advice ever is as long as your baby is wetting at least 6 to 8 diapers a day and, you know, they're not severely underweight, your baby's getting enough milk. Don't let your mind tell you, or don't let your anxiety be like, oh my gosh, they're getting frustrated on the boob, so I'm not producing enough, or they're crying every time I nurse them. They're not getting enough, because that happened to me. Like, there would be points where she would just scream when I would try to feed her, and she'd be really pissed when I would go to feed her. As soon as, like, she saw the Boppy pillow, she would start crying sometimes. I don't know why, but I stuck with it. So when I felt like quitting, Jesse helped me a lot. He's like, no, you're fine, you can do it. He was very supportive though. He's like, I'll feed her formula, like that's fine with me. But I would tell myself like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a couple days. If I still feel this way after a couple days or a week, then maybe I'll think about introducing formula. But most of the issues I had, they resolved themselves naturally after a couple days, sometimes a week. So yeah, just remember that, just don't make any rash decisions until you've thought that way for a solid, give yourself at least a week, because there were just so many things that made it so stressful for me. Another thing, there was a point where I had a hard time where I was like, I literally cannot leave the house. I'm attached, we're attached. If I wanted to go anywhere, she either had to come, or for the longest time, I just didn't go anywhere without her, because you never know. Like sometimes in the beginning, like I said, she'd be hungry every 20-40 minutes, or sometimes she'd be fine for 2 hours. That's another hard part about breastfeeding, is it's so unpredictable. It's not like it's a bottle where it's like, okay, when they're hungry, I can make a bottle, mom can leave, no big deal. So that's kind of a hard thing, but for me, it was also kind of a blessing too. I really do like feeling needed, as weird as that sounds. And anyways, another thing that came up is she would go through periods of, sometimes she would literally only eat for like 2 minutes. And in the beginning, I don't know, I had read somewhere that like, oh, or maybe I watched a YouTuber that like, my baby nurses for 20 to 40 minutes every single time. Nope, mine didn't do that. Sometimes she literally would only eat for 2 minutes. And that was it. And I would panic and freak out like, okay, why isn't she eating more? Is there not enough? That's when like, oh, there's a lot of unknown in breastfeeding, and that's really scary and kind of puts you into panic mode. So yeah, if your baby's only eating for 2 minutes every 2 hours, like I said, as long as they're wetting 6 to 8 diapers, somehow they're getting enough. Maybe I don't know, maybe in Penelope's case, she just figured out how to get milk out more efficiently, and still to this day, she does not nurse very long. She never was a long nurser, honestly. And if you've seen any updates, she's a chunky baby. Like, she is healthy. So, yeah. Another issue I ran into is she really switched up the positions, which I guess I'll get into that. Like, sometimes, like I said, for a while, I couldn't use the Boppy. She hated it. Anytime I'd pull it out, she'd cry because she just did not want to eat that way. Sometimes I would even put her on her changing table and just dangle over her just to get her to eat a little bit, because she would not want the football hold, which is, let me get a dolly. Here we go. Here's the little baby. Here's a football hold. Sometimes she wouldn't like that. I liked this hold the best. Like, just, you know, straight up, I forget what they call it, but she went through a stage where she hated that. So then I would have to dangle. You can also, another thing, especially now that she's older, is you can breastfeed laying down. So like if I'm laying down, it's really hard to show you guys, but if you lay down, have them take the boobie that's on the bottom, that's closest to the mattress. I always had a hard time, like I would hear people like, oh, I breastfeed my baby laying down, I just whip my boob out in bed, and I'm like, how do you do that? So that's how you do it. Another issue that came up that almost made me stop breastfeeding is she was waking up every 2 hours up until 3 months, and I had done a bunch of reading and it said, oh, breastfed babies, there's no way they'll ever sleep through the night because it doesn't keep them full long enough. So I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm not gonna sleep while I'm breastfeeding, which I was kind of okay with, but then there were some nights where I was like, I just want sleep. But anyways, long story short, at about 3 months, she slept through the night. Sometimes she would fall asleep at like 10 and not wake up until 9. So she's gone a solid 11 hours sometimes without eating because she was sleeping. So that's another concern if you're like, I need to wake my baby to eat. I personally didn't do that. I know that's like a controversial topic. Some doctors recommend you to wake your baby up to eat. Some don't. Mine didn't. And I don't know, I didn't feel like I should anyways. I'm like, they'll tell you like maybe they need sleep more than food, but if they needed food more than sleep, they'd wake up and tell you they're hungry. That's just how I felt. But if you do something different, whatever works for you, that's another biggest tip. Whatever works for you, do it. Like I said, if you have to dangle and feed your baby over the changing table, do it. If you are head set on breastfeeding your baby. Gosh, I feel like there's so many components to breastfeeding. So seriously, leave a comment down below, any things I missed. Oh, one other quick thing that like I was curious about before I breastfed is, okay, like how does it work? Do I switch? Again, I've read different things, there's different preferences. I've heard some people prefer to feed one boob at a time, solid feeding, then next time the next boob. I've heard some people switch halfway. Some people use timers. I don't recommend using timers or anything like that, unless if you want to, again. But one thing that I noticed is the more I stressed about breastfeeding, the more I stressed, oh, which boob, or is she getting enough, the less milk that would come in. Still to this day, even if I'm stressed, super stressed, having nothing to do with breastfeeding her, I will notice like my milk does dip. So I know it's easier said than done, but try to just do whatever you think is right, what makes you happy. Like I've said, as long as your baby's wetting 6 to 8 diapers a day, you're doing your job. So anyways, what I did is I flip-flopped. So in the beginning, I would feed like half the time on one boob and then I'd switch to the other, or sometimes I would just do one at a time, like I'd do this boob and then 2 hours later do the next boob. Still to this day, I kind of do both. She does prefer one over the other. So ever since she was a newborn, she's always preferred my right boob, which is weird because this has always been my small boob, but my small boob produces the most milk and she prefers that one more. Kind of weird. This is also the boob that I'm more comfortable with, like just like if I'm out in public, like I can hold her easier on this side. I don't know. So I feed on this boob more than this one, but I will throw in this one because I don't want this one to dry up. I've heard if you don't have them eat on one, it'll dry up. But anyways, I literally don't really have a rhyme or reason. I just kind of like, oh, okay, she ate on this boob the past couple times, let me put her on this one. Or when I lay down, I like laying down with this boob better. So you'll find your thing. But long story short, if you take anything away from this, just know that if you are persistent, if you really want to breastfeed, and like I said, your baby's doing that 6 to 8 diapers a day, you can do it. Just set your mind to it. And if you feel like quitting, wait a week. If you still want to quit after a week, quit. No big deal. I know there's some mamas out there who like they literally just, their milk does not come in. And I feel for you because I know so many people who they wanted to breastfeed so badly and their milk didn't come in. That's one of the main reasons that I did almost think about quitting, because I was like, oh, I don't think I'm getting enough milk. She doesn't seem full. She's hungry all the time. When I would pump, nothing would come out. But I was like, okay, she's wetting 6 to 8 diapers a day. She's gaining weight. So I'm just going to trust that she's getting enough milk. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful to you guys. And if you got to the end of this video and you're not part of my family, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you got to the end of this video, pop a melon emoji. A melon or a bottle, one of the two, whichever one you want. And if you're on a PC and can't do emojis, comment the word melon or bottle. And I will catch you guys in my next video.